Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Letchworth State Park. It's been a little while since I've done a vlog here. I'm trying to remember the last time we were here. Well, not the last time I was here, but obviously us here together for a vlog. And I can't remember off the top of my head. It might be because I have 4 hours of sleep, but it is what it is. But yeah, I think last couple times we were in Allegheny, obviously. And today, well, I guess I should say like last night, I saw fog, pretty heavy fog in the forecast for Letchworth State Park. So I figured I would pop out, to try to do some woodland stuff, do some landscape stuff, some like classic stuff. That's why I'm here at the tea table overlook, like you guys just saw from that B-roll. And there's actually been, I think, a couple of times recently where I've been bringing my vlog stuff with me, and then I just don't end up filming a vlog, whether because like time restraints or just not wanting to focus on something else other than photos, which I'm sure most of you can understand. I mean, that's a dilemma I see with a lot of, I don't know if I'd call it a dilemma, but, something I see a lot of, like, photographers/YouTubers do, is they'll have to, kind of choose between whether or not, they want to focus on photos or they want to focus on videos. It's really hard to kind of do both, because right now I'm seeing something really nice that I like up through these trees here, and I really like it quite a bit. So I'm trying to just frame it up the best I can. These dark branches over here with obviously the mist coming in, and just this very soft green color kind of contrasting against those darker branches and how they kind of spread out from one point. But today it's kind of going to be about woodland today. I think that's mainly going to be the focus. See, this is another thing I'm trying to get good at, is like but like if I see something that I really like the way this looks, but getting it on camera to have it appear the way that I see it, that in of itself is a challenge and a skill that I still need to work on. I'm going to go a little bit wider. I'm trying to not include the sky, but maybe if I can crop in a little bit, maybe it'll be better. Got the 24 to 200 on for today, because I am going to be putting that that tad bit of reach to use here in a second. I'm going to go up to f11, see if I can get some of these other branches in focus. Because honestly, I think that's what I like too, is some of the branches coming in from the side, kind of pointing at the subject. I'm not going to spend too much more time on it right now, because I see other things out there I'd like to shoot. Yeah, alright. I think that should be good enough. One thing that is making life a little bit difficult right now is the fog, just because it's very hard to lock focus on some of these distant objects. But down on the riverbank right now are some, I think they're sycamores, just based on the color of the bark. And they do stand out really well against the very lush green backdrop. It's very soft, it's very subtle, and I kind of like it. It's another great thing for the telephoto lens, is just reaching out and grabbing certain compositions like that you really wouldn't be able to get otherwise. because I have already taken a few wide shots of this here tea table overlook, but you know, just the very soft subtleness, that early morning light. It's very nice. I think I'm going to go back down to ISO 100 because I don't think I need to worry about having a slightly faster shutter speed. That's one thing I've not been afraid to do, is just bump the ISO up sometimes. I used to be terribly afraid to do that with my old camera just because it did not handle high ISOs very well, but obviously, you know, going from a D3400 to a Z7 is a big step up, so it's definitely a very nice thing to be able to do. Just, you know, kind of general rule of thumb, don't be afraid to increase the ISO if it means you can get the photo. I think I can't remember who I heard this from, but it was like, it's better to have a noisy image than no image at all. I guess that's just a good way to look at it. Yeah, so I'm going to switch over to video mode here. Yeah, so I'm on video mode on my main camera right now, just so you guys can kind of see what I'm taking a photo of right now. Yeah, the 3 branches on the right and that one little lone branch that kind of goes diagonally on that left third there. Very, very simple. They stick out quite well against, again, that very lush green early spring, I guess mid-spring backdrop that we have there right now. So just a very simple composition. I think it'll look very nice with some very minimal editing. And yeah, I've been trying to shoot a lot more stuff like that lately, just woodland in general, and it's been a lot of fun. It really helps you kind of get mileage out of places that you may have shot what feels like you have shot to death, right? But having a telephoto definitely opens up a ton of windows. Another challenge too will be this mist. Not necessarily from a photo standpoint, but from just a filming standpoint. I may have to abandon this camera and shoot solely on this camera, just because this camera I'm shooting on is not weather sealed at all, so I got like a little rain coat over it right now. I do have plans to move over towards Lee's Landing. It's a trail I've walked before, and it did seem pretty promising on foggy days. That was literally my first thought when I first checked out that trail. I'm like, this place would be really, really nice with some fog, and today is that day, so I'd like to get down there sooner than later, but I do want to spend a little bit more time here. It's currently 5:50, so the sun, I think, came up about 6 minutes ago, 5-6 minutes ago, hence why it's definitely gotten a little bit foggier out here. Yeah, it's just a complete blanket over there. Keeping the lens dry is going to be a challenge, I can already tell. Because I don't think it's necessarily raining right now, but it's very humid, very misty. So, bound to have some water on the camera somewhere. Alright, so here we are at the sort of like beginning part of the Lee's Landing trailhead, or Trail 5 I think it is. And this is the first like real composition that I've found that I really like here in the woods. It's pretty straightforward. We have this big down tree here, and then you have those two sort of lighter colored trees. I'm not sure the exact species right now, but they kind of have this V shape. in the background, and then you have these sort of darker colored trees kind of leaning in here from the right. And there is a couple of other lighter colored trees that kind of growing up in a pair here on the left. I'm not sure if I want to include those or not. That's basically what I'm kind of working with. The settings right now are just aperture priority f11 ISO 100. I am slightly underexposing, so the EV value is like minus 0.3. I tend to do that sometimes when I'm out shooting in conditions like this, just not to blow out any highlights and keep things as soft as they look in real life. So that's the first thing. I'm going to spend a little bit of time here with this, try to get it right. Nothing super crazy. You know, could definitely get a lot more complicated, but I think for now this will do. So I've moved on from that last sort of composition. Don't know if I'll be able to make it work. What I ended up doing was scooting a bit to the left and kind of cut out that split back tree in the background and just kind of focus on the down tree and the trees on the hill behind it to kind of simplify things a little bit. But I'm not sure. We'll see when we get back into Lightroom. But now I've sort of come down to the riverbank. This is more on the southerly end of this trail. And lots of what I presume to be sycamores, just based on the bark. I'm not sure the exact species. Could also be some kind of birches. But they do stick out like really, really well. I just did like an intentional camera movement shot because I was just kind of slowly panning, I think at 200 millimeters, maybe 180, just over that distant tree line there right across the river from me until I really saw something show up in the frame that I liked, and then I just took a picture and then just moved the camera up as it was taking it. So, I mean, it looks kind of cool, especially with that really bright color contrast against the darker background, but I did stop to take you know, a regular photo. Just to see what it looks like. Kind of similar to what I was doing back at the tea table, but I guess, you know, more of a straight on angle than kind of peering down at the trees. Did take some shots of the foggy sort of hillside up over there, and as well as this sort of grouping of trees here where the river kind of takes a turn. So yeah, just taking it slow today again, not in a big rush. You know, I'd rather come away with 1 to 3 good photos than 5 to 10 okay photos, you know what I mean? I guess that's kind of the name of the game. Slow today. I did already have a few instances where I was like, stop and take this, stop, I see that, right? Just gotta stay focused, right? It's a really nice day though. It's super calm. It was raining kind of a decent amount, so I left my other camera in the truck, and just because I knew I wasn't gonna be doing any filming with it. But now the rain has pretty much stopped, so I kind of wish I had that camera again and the other tripod with it. I suppose I could walk back to the truck and grab it, but don't think I'll need to. So what I think I'm gonna do is film a little bit of B-roll and then head back towards like the northern end of the trailhead, and we'll see what we can see. So just on the main trail here, back on the main trail anyways, and I found something that I really like, and I kind of want to go over very briefly. But right here, what kind of caught my eye is this grouping of 3 trees that have this sort of grayer bark. They kind of look like they could be maples or oaks. It's hard to tell. I don't see any leaves on them just right now. But just to the right of them, you have another set of like 3 sycamore trees, again with those brightly colored sort of camouflage, patchy bark. They do stand out quite nicely. So not only is it a transition of, from one species of tree to another, the background is also changing in luminosity too. Behind these 3 trees here on the left, and again, I don't know how well you guys can see it from here, but I'm trying my best to illustrate it. There are some really leafed out trees sitting behind them, so it's creating a bit of a darker background, and then it transitions to that more open section of woods where it's a lot brighter. So it's a transition of like a light and dark background, and also a transition of a different type of tree. So that's kind of what I'm going off of. Might end up doing like a 16x9 or even a 2x1 crop in post, just to kind of really emphasize that transition from left to right. Not really so much from top to bottom, but from left to right. And there's also a little bit of Dame's Rocket growing here. It's a wildflower. It's unfortunately an invasive wildflower. A lot of invasives down here, but I guess that shouldn't surprise me. Like this here, this is yellow rocket. That's invasive. That's garlic mustard. That's invasive. Japanese barberry, Japanese honeysuckle, Dame's Rocket, you name it. It's just an invasive party down here, but it is what it is. They do add for a nice splash of color, I will say. Little purple and white wildflowers kind of jumping up here and there. And from what I've been told, they do, kind of take over some areas. So that should be interesting to see. But I do like this spot here because it's pretty wide open, and some of these trees have a lot of room to breathe from one tree to the next. And I think that kind of helps me a little bit, makes things a little bit easier to focus in on, just because it isn't so chaotic. And that is one of the challenges I think I've talked about in the past about woodland photography, is that a lot of the times it's very overwhelming and it's very challenging because everything's so chaotic. It's hard to really find something that like really flows well, a composition that really makes sense. You kind of got to have an eye for those things, and that's currently what I'm working on, right? So it might take a lot of bad photos today, maybe just to get one good one. We'll see. But yeah, I'm going to spend a little bit more time in this open area here just because, again, I like it just because it's a little less chaotic. And then we're going to move further down the trailhead. One thing I wanted to talk about briefly was the importance of using your phone in landscape photography. It's really helpful to kind of just give you an idea of what something is going to look like once you take a picture of it. So if you think you see something, instead of just going for the tripod, going for the camera immediately, just pull out your phone, see if you can frame it up on your phone and get it to look the way that you see it in person. And if you can, then that's a pretty good sign just to go ahead and grab the camera and, take the shot, right? But at least you can kind of give yourself an idea ahead of time, be like, okay, is this really going to work out? Once I basically convert this 3D thing that I'm seeing into a 2D space. And another thing too that I tried earlier, you can also just like experiment with crops real time, 16 by 9, a square crop, whatever it may be. Just to kind of be like, okay, I want to shoot this as a square, or I think I want to shoot as a square. Let me take it on my phone, crop it to a square, and see if it actually looks good as a square, right? And I'm sure this is all stuff you guys have heard before. It's definitely nothing new, but it's just a reminder. I've been using my phone a lot today, so I'm pretty proud of myself for doing that. It's something I always tell myself to do. I always think that I'll do it, and then I pretty much never end up doing it. But today I did use it, I think, 2 to 3 times back on the main trail there to really frame up something really well, and then I was able to grab the camera and kind of go from there. It's just a really easy, quick way just to be like, okay, this looks good. How is it going to look on the camera, right? Very simple, easy thing to do. Takes 2 seconds. And again, the cropping in real time too, that's another thing. I actually tried that on, it was like this really gnarly looking maple and then like a broken off trunk that was like just to the bottom and left of it. And I was like, that would look good as a square. And I took a picture of it, cropped it as a square. I was like, okay, it's not going to work for X, Y reasons, right? But yeah, saved me some time, right? And now I know that it's probably not going to look as good as a square, and maybe we'll need some different conditions for it to really pop. And also, if you take pictures on your phone, I know some phones, they kind of like get geotagged, right? So they show up on maps and stuff, or at least you can set up Google Maps to do that. So you know exactly where the photo was taken. So if you do find a potential composition, right, you know right exactly where it is. Again, nothing groundbreaking, I'm sure you guys haven't heard already, but again, a reminder. Got another gap in the rain here, and exploring actually a completely new part of this trail that I did not check out the first time that I was here. I want to say maybe a month or so ago. The reason why I didn't the first time is because I just wanted to follow the main trail, and then by the time I got back here to go down this fork, I wasn't sure how long it was, so I was like, I'll just save it for another time. But it's actually not that long of a walk, thankfully, to get us right to another sort of riverside view. Lots of sycamores, big white oak over there, I think. That'll look nice. Maybe earlier in the morning when the sun is still a bit lower, maybe some light coming through the trees there. And yeah, that's one thing I've been noticing too. A lot of the compositions that I did find, I think they'll probably work better when we get some sun down here. At least one composition in particular. There goes one of those ducks. One composition in particular of that big sycamore, I did kind of get behind it, and one of its branches kind of just arches through the frame in a square crop. Set that up on my phone. And I think what would look really nice is if that branch itself was getting hit with some direct sunlight. Sorry, I just saw a huge bird over there. Getting hit with some direct sunlight while the cliffside behind it was left in shadow. So I think that will be something to kind of go back to for sunset. I think that'll be probably be the best time for it, as well as kind of a river rapid shot. I was gonna go to it afterwards, after I wrapped up with that sycamore tree and that area surrounding it. It's actually probably just right around the corner there. But I think it needs kind of sunset light. Because I remember the first time I was here, as we were leaving, of course, the light started to hit what would basically be these trees back here on this right side of the bank. And that was right as we were leaving. But I can imagine, rapids coming through from right to left, and then the tree line behind it just getting hit with some really nice sort of like sunset evening light. So that's going to be a shot for another day. I wasn't even going to bother going down there because I knew in my head, I'm like, if I take this picture right now, am I really going to do anything with it? Like, I've already got a reference shot, I believe, on my phone somewhere. So I already know what to expect. I know where it is. I just need those conditions. So I need to come back here for sunset to try to capture that at some point. Ideally on a day that's kind of like partly cloudy, maybe clear skies. But I think that is probably going to wrap it up for today's outing. Just checking out a area at a new time. I've never been here for sunrise. Just trying to practice woodland photography. I think I've made a couple videos about this kind of stuff. But today was a little bit more challenging, I'm not going to lie. A lot more challenging than in the past. The fog wasn't as dense as I was expecting it to be. Versus what we saw when I first got here versus what we saw when we got down here. But fog isn't make or break in all of these situations. Like I said, there's a lot of shots down here that I don't think fog really would have added too much to begin with. I think they would probably look worse with fog than they would with maybe other conditions. Just like sunlight, things like that, like sunlight and then some shadow in different parts of the image, or maybe different times of the year. And yeah, frog or something, toad. It sounds like it's right in front of me. Huh. Sorry about that distraction there, but I think that's going to do it. It is currently, I think just for a time reference, 10:13. I think I got here roughly 5 hours ago, so I'm exhausted. Creative batteries are drained, and I am ready to get out of here. So I'll see you guys back in the studio. So here we are in the studio, and I just wanted to wrap up this video properly just because I never actually filmed a true outro while I was out there at the park. But I wanted to talk to you guys about a few interesting things actually that ended up happening. The first being is that a lot of the photos that I took that morning, I thought most of them weren't going to work just because I was trying to manage my expectations as well as I could. I tend to have a problem where I'll see photos online or in YouTube videos, and I'll be like, okay, I take photos of that similar genre all the time. Now I can't wait to go out to try to take something, in that same vein, and then I'll go out and, whether I don't have the same scenery or the same conditions right, it kind of lets you down a little bit. So I felt as though keeping my expectations low did help me out quite a bit because I was actually able to come away with a good handful of photos that I personally really ended up liking. And yeah, that's obviously a great thing at the end of the day. But also, while I was editing this video, there was a couple points where I saw compositions for future photos to take while I was recording B-roll in a couple of spots that I was like, wow, that was a really nice photo opportunity there that I just never saw. And that's a really interesting thing too that'll just happen where I'll be shooting B-roll, be thinking nothing of it, and then I'll come back and edit it and be like, wait a second, there's something there where I didn't think there was anything there to begin with. And I think there was 3 points actually in this video, and I'll either put timestamps up or I'll just leave them up for you guys to look at. kind of leave it up to your imagination. But yeah, I don't know. That's a weird thing. I think this is like one of the first times that's happened to me, which is really, really cool. But yeah, I also want to mention that all of these images will be available on my website to view in larger format. And I always try to stress that not only can you purchase these photos in print on my site, but they're also just a better place to view these photos just because you get to look at it on a bigger monitor outside of just looking at it on a phone, right? So that's something you can do. Most of these photos will be in the woodland gallery, maybe some landscape ones too that I didn't show in this video because I did take some things afterwards before I was leaving the park. Kind of got roped into a few more things, always not necessarily a bad thing, just some other things that kind of caught my eye that didn't really fit the theme of the vlog per se, since the focus was mainly woodland. But if you want to view them in a larger format, feel free to check out my website, link in the description. And if you're interested in buying any, they're also available to purchase there as well. But that's going to do it for this vlog. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something, and I'll see you around.